Defense Updates has reached more than 150,000 subscribers. We're genuinely thankful to our viewers. You keep us going. We don't dilute your video watching experience in this channel with sponsored products. If you like what we're doing, kindly support us on Patreon. www.patreon.com/defenseupdates. The world's and America's focus has been on North Korea, and rightly so. Tensions over China's island building in the South China Sea may have eased in the past year, but Beijing has kept busy. New satellite imagery shows China has built infrastructure covering 72 acres, 28 hectares, in the Spratly and Paracel Islands during 2017 to equip its larger outposts to be air and naval bases. The Washington-based Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative closely tracks developments in the South China Sea, where China and several Asian governments have conflicting territorial claims. It said on Thursday there have been construction in hangars, underground storage, missile shelters, radar arrays, and other facilities. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes how China has used the North Korean crisis to further its cause in the South China Sea.
Number 5.
China's sweeping claims of sovereignty over the sea have infuriated competing claimants Malaysia, Brunei, Taiwan, Indonesia, the Philippines, as well as Vietnam. The United States, Japan, Australia, and India favor freedom of navigation as it's a very important sea route with $5 trillion in trade, half the global merchant shipping, and half of the world's oil shipment pass through it. The sea also has alleged 11 billion barrels of untapped oil and 190 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. China embarked on its massive land reclamation program in early 2014. South China Sea arbitration was an arbitration case brought by the Philippines against China. The landmark decision rejected China's assertion that it enjoys historical rights over a huge area of South China Sea encompassed by a 9-dash line. China had argued that the tribunal had no jurisdiction in the matter and rejected the decision. Many complex disputes have been resolved with this type of arbitration, including maritime boundaries. China's outright rejection symbolizes its high-handed behavior and utter disregard for international norms.
Number 4.
China has tried to change the territorial status quo gradually, island by island, instead of trying to capture it in one go. For example, China first occupied the Paracel Islands in 1974, and then slowly expanded its presence southward by attacking Vietnam's islands in the Spratly chain in the 1980s. This strategy, known as salami slicing, aims for slow accumulation of small changes. China's strategy relies on low-intensity but constant and simultaneous small provocations at multiple pressure points. This serves to stretch thin the capabilities of smaller nations like Vietnam to respond while limiting the risk of escalation to a manageable level. For example, Vietnamese authorities have reported high levels of Chinese aggression in the waters many times. In certain cases, Chinese vessels have used high-pressure water pumps to attack Vietnamese ships. Some also rammed Vietnamese vessels intentionally, causing major damage and endangering the lives of Vietnamese crew.
Number 3.
The new construction activity comes as China joins what are likely to be protracted negotiations with Southeast Asian nations on a code of conduct for South China Sea. Tensions with the US on the issue have also eased, despite Washington's criticism of Beijing's conduct. The construction is the follow-up phase to a campaign of land reclamation that was completed by early 2016 in the Spratlys, an island chain where Malaysia, Taiwan, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Brunei also have claims. According to the Pentagon, China has added more than 3,200 acres, 1,248 hectares, of land to the 7 land features it occupies in the area. China also seems to have halted smaller-scale operations to expand islands in the Paracels that lie farther north, the initiative said. The US and others have accused Beijing of further militarizing the region and altering geography to bolster its sweeping claims across the South China Sea. China says the man-made islands in the Spratlys, which are equipped with airstrips and military installations, are mainly for civilian purposes and to boost safety for fishing and maritime trade.
Number 2.
Greg Polling, the initiative's director, said China had seized a diplomatic opening after the election of Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, who adopted a conciliatory stance towards Beijing over the territorial dispute. It's also been less of a focus of President Donald Trump's administration, preoccupied by North Korea's nuclear threat and trade disputes with China. It's gotten off the front pages, but we shouldn't confuse that with a softening in China's pursuit of its goals. They're continuing all the construction they want, Polling said. The most construction has been on Fiery Cross Reef in the Spratlys, including hangars alongside its 10,000-foot, 3,000-meter airstrip, underground structures likely intended to house munitions and other material, hardened shelters for missile platforms, and communication and radar facilities, the initiative said. It also noted that China has deployed new military aircraft at Woody Island in the Paracels. At the end of October, the Chinese military released images of J-11B fighter planes there for drills. In mid-November, Y-8 transport aircraft were spotted on the same island that may be capable of electronic intelligence gathering. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Logan, a Pentagon spokesman, said Thursday that he could not comment in detail on U.S. assessments of the region, but that further militarization of outposts will only serve to raise tensions and create greater distrust among claimants.
Number 1.
The United States does not claim territory in the South China Sea, but has declared it has a national interest in ensuring that the territorial disputes there are resolved peacefully in accordance with international law and that freedom of navigation and overflight are guaranteed. China has opposed what it calls U.S. meddling in an Asian dispute. It is the greatest of irony that even a communist nation, Vietnam, has sought support from capitalist America to counter belligerence and aggression from China, which is a communist nation. Chinese recent activities have been such. China is embroiled in disputes on multiple fronts, latest being with India on the Doklam Plateau. America under Trump had already stepped up the game with increase in frequency of freedom of navigation operations, as well as initiating investigation in illegal trade practices of China. It remains to be seen how the US can respond to China and North Korea at the same time.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.